The film begins with Gene, a high school student who genuinely believes life is good. Like most teenagers, he thinks everything will become easier after high school. He has no idea how complicated things are about to get. Gene introduces his friend group, a bunch of carefree boys just like him. There is Dong, whose entire personality revolves around food, yet somehow he is an incredible dancer. Then there is Ban, a guy who sleeps like a rock no matter what is happening. John lives in a world that revolves entirely around girls. And finally, Ben, the so-called decent guy of the group, new to the school, well-dressed, and surprisingly tough when needed. Despite their differences, Gene insists they all care deeply about one another. One day, they walk into class laughing and joking until they suddenly freeze. Their foolish smiles grow wider. Standing at the front is Sun, the most beautiful girl in school. People say she is like a slice of cake, sweet, soft, intelligent, and the class topper. Almost every boy in school likes her, everyone except Gene. While his friends admire her beauty, Gene stays silent. He claims she is not that special, that she is arrogant and thinks too highly of herself. She has never impressed him. Soon the first class begins. The teacher turns to the board and starts writing. Gene tries to get John's attention, but John ignores him, so Gene begins throwing small objects at him. Finally, he throws a milk carton, which accidentally lands on Sun's desk, spilling all over her. Sun screams. The teacher turns around, drops the chalk, and angrily orders Gene, Sun, and John to stand up. All three are thrown out of class. While they are standing outside as punishment, another teacher walks by. He scolds Gene for always causing trouble and tells him to grow up. He is surprised to see Sun there too, the class topper and president. He lightly hits John on the head for fooling around. Then he announces that from now on, Gene will sit directly in front of Sun so she can help him with his studies. During gym class, Sun watches her friend Mon, who is dramatically performing a fake stomachache dance for attention. Gene leaves his basketball game and mocks her, asking if she really thinks that performance counts as real dancing. He calls Dong over to demonstrate what real dancing looks like. Dong starts moving like jelly, exaggerating every move even more. Sun becomes furious. She walks up to Gene and tells him that rude, classless people like him will never succeed in life. Before Gene can respond, Ben throws a basketball at his head, clearly protective of Sun. That night, Gene's parents are thrilled. Their son is now sitting next to the top student in class. They hope it will finally push him to focus on his studies. His father even cooks him a proper meal, encouraging him to take school seriously. The house feels unusually warm and hopeful. The next day, the home economics teacher announces a surprise test in 20 minutes. Anyone who forgot their textbook should step outside immediately. Sun searches her bag and realizes she forgot hers. Trying to play the hero, Gene quietly places his own book on Sun's desk and tells the teacher he forgot his. He walks outside to accept the punishment. Sun is deeply moved. She watches him outside doing leg exercises as part of his punishment. Meanwhile, inside the classroom, the teacher walks around yelling at students, calling them failures. Sun barely hears him. Instead, she keeps staring at the doodles in Gene's notebook. After class, she goes to him and thanks him sincerely. But instead of accepting it politely, Gene jokes that if she wants to thank him, she should at least bring him something to eat or drink. Instantly, karma hits. A basketball smacks him on the head again. Ben threw it, calling him back to the game. After practice, Ben warns Gene to stop being disrespectful towards Sun, but Gene shrugs it off and walks away. A little later, Sun approaches him again. This time, she hands him a study guide filled with important exam questions. She tells him she prepared it especially for him. Gene casually throws the study guide onto his desk. Sun calls him back and hands him a reference book, saying she wants to thank him properly. With that material, she tells him, he can at least pass half the exam. When Gene tells her to stop paying so much attention to him, Sun gets annoyed. That night, Gene finally studies, but not school subjects. He tries learning boxing moves from a book, which obviously does not work. On his very first move, his bag falls, and Sun's notes get dirty. He quickly cleans them. When he opens the notebook, he freezes. Her handwriting is beautiful, neat, careful. Without realizing it, he ends up reading the entire booklet. The next day, Sun is sitting with Ben and Mon when Gene walks in, looking tired. He hands Sun his answer sheet and says he solved all the questions. Everyone is shocked that he actually opened a book. Sun checks his answers and finds 2 mistakes. She tells him to fix them, and he does. From that point on, Gene begins studying seriously at home, at school, even during free time. One day, money goes missing in class. The teacher enters, orders everyone to sit down, and tells them to close their eyes while he checks their bags. When he checks Dong's bag, he finds it full of snacks. He mocks him, accuses him of stealing money to buy food, and even makes comments about his weight. Gene gets angry. He asks how much money was stolen and says he will pay it himself if it means the teacher stops humiliating Dong. The teacher explodes and throws Jean out of class for challenging him. Sun stands up and says she also opposes bullying. If Jean is being punished, she should be punished too. One by one, Dong, Ban, and the others stand up as well. The entire group is punished together. Sun begins to cry. It is the first time she has ever been punished. The boys quickly start joking around, trying to make her laugh. Jean later admits that was the moment he realized Sun was truly beautiful. Soon after, they go on a school trip. Ban sleeps through most of it. Dong keeps eating, and everyone takes photos. When Jean gets bored, he suggests playing a game called Wooden Horse, but it turns into more of a punishment than a game. Tension rises, and Ben suddenly punches Jean in front of the girls. Jean snaps and fights back. The other boys try to separate them, but fail. Eventually, the teacher punishes them again. Back at school, Sun and Mon join the group for lunch. Monty asks Jean and Ben if they have made up. Jean laughs and says their fight was easier to resolve than girls' arguments. The next day, Jean and Ben are playing basketball like nothing happened. Later, Ben tells them a scary story about the neighboring school being haunted. Two girls were studying alone at night. One drops her red pen. When she bends down to pick it up, she notices the girl sitting across from her has no legs. She looks up and down again to make sure she saw correctly. Suddenly, the lights go out. When they come back on, the girl is gone, and a legless ghost is standing in front of her. Monty gets so scared he slaps Ban and runs away. That same day after class, Sun asks Jean if he will stay late at school to study with her since final exams are coming, and she usually stays alone. To convince him, she challenges him. She says he will never score better than her anyway. She cleverly triggers his competitive side. They make a bet. If Jean loses, he has to shave his head. If Sun loses, she has to leave her hair down for several days so she looks like a ghost. Jean knows she created the challenge because she does not want to stay alone, but he does not say it out loud. From that day on, Jean studies harder than ever. He stays late every day with Sun. At home, he even makes his father sit beside him peeling onions so he will not fall asleep while studying. After the exams, one evening Sun stays late again to study alone. Suddenly, the lights go out. She panics, quickly packs her things, and drops her red pen. She bends down to pick it up. The lights come back on. Standing in front of her is Jean, with his head completely shaved. He looks ridiculous, like a pineapple. He lost the bet. On the way home, it starts raining. They run and stop at a bus stop for shelter. A car speeds through a puddle and splashes dirty water all over Jean. Instead of getting upset, they both burst into laughter and run into the rain, playing like it is a movie scene. The next day, Jean is sitting with the boys when Sun walks past with her hair down. She looks stunning. Everyone freezes. They cannot stop staring. And slowly, quietly, Jean realizes that he has truly fallen in love with Sun. Now Jean starts finding excuses just to stand near Sun whenever she studies outside the classroom. Soon, the university aptitude test arrives, their last official day of school. After the exam ends, everyone is overwhelmed with happiness. They rush outside, wander through places they were once forbidden to visit during exam time, even run toward the beach despite the cold weather. They laugh, shout, and celebrate their freedom. When they finally calm down, they sit together and talk about their dreams. Which university will they attend? What do they want to become? Everyone has a clear goal. Everyone except Sun. The class topper, the most hardworking student, does not even know what she wants to be. On graduation day, most of them receive admission letters from their preferred universities. They leave the hall celebrating, throwing colored powder at each other. Sun sits a little apart with Mon. Mon asks her who she wishes would confess their love to her. Softly, Sun admits that she loves Jean. She wants them to be together. At that moment, the boys run over and throw color on them too, pulling them back into the celebration. Afterward, Jean and Sun walk together. On the way, Jean takes out a small bracelet from his pocket. He hesitates for a moment, then gently fastens it around her wrist and tells her never to take it off. It is his quiet way of confessing his love. Sun blushes, unable to say anything. A new year begins. Everyone goes to their respective universities. Jean quickly realizes that college life is completely different from school. He suddenly has too much free time. He stays out late, drinks, parties, and slowly gets lost in the excitement of independence. Unfortunately, as time passes, his relationship with Sun begins to fade. Sometimes he misses her calls because he is busy. Sometimes when he calls, she is unavailable. Slowly, the warmth between them cools down. One day, while scrolling through a social media site, Jean sees Sun's new photos. In every picture, there is an unfamiliar guy sitting very close to her. Jealousy hits him hard. Finally, he replies to her message. Sun tells him she is coming to see him the next day because she misses him. Jean feels relieved and excited, convinced that his charm still works. The next day, he waits for her at the bus station. When he sees her, he freezes for a second. She looks radiant. They go to a romantic restaurant. The waitress assumes they are a couple and tells them they look perfect together. Jean becomes so nervous that he cannot even look at Sun properly. After lunch, they take a walk. That night, Jean decides he should properly confess his feelings. But not yet. He wants to do it in the most romantic way possible, something she will never never forget. The next day, Jean puts up a poster announcing that he is starting boxing training at the university gym. On his first day, he faces a small, weak-looking opponent. Jean goes all out, throwing punches without holding back. Later, he notices he missed Sun's call. He messages her, apologizing and saying he was at the hospital. Panicked, Sun immediately calls him. Jean explains that he has started boxing training because he plans to compete in a tournament next month. He insists it is just a sport he loves and wants to pursue. He invites her to watch his first match. Sun is not convinced. She hangs up. Match day arrives. Jean walks into the ring feeling like a hero, but reality hits hard. His opponent shows no mercy. When the bell rings, Jean is completely beaten. The worst part is that Sun is there. She sees everything. After the match, Jean walks out and looks for her. He tries to act cool, pretending the loss does not matter, but Sun's face says otherwise. She is deeply troubled. Jean tries to reassure her, telling her that once she sees him win, she will understand. Sun quietly stands up and walks away. Jean asks her to give him one more chance. At that moment, two drunk men nearby begin mocking him and making disgusting comments about Sun. Jean's face turns red with anger. Jean puts on the face of an action hero and lunges at the drunk men. A little later, he and Sun are standing on the street. Bruises are clearly visible on Jean's face, yet he smiles as if nothing happened. Sun finally explodes. She scolds him, saying this is the second time he ignored her words. He is not in school anymore. He needs to grow up, act responsibly, and stop getting into pointless fights. Frustrated, Jean shouts that he is doing all of this because he loves her. He wants to become strong enough to protect her, but love is not enough. They break up. Jean walks away, leaving Sun behind. When Dong, Ban, John, and the rest of the gang hear the news, they travel to the city where Jean is studying. At first, they joke that now the path is clear to try their luck with Sun, but John quickly realizes he never stood a chance and instead goes to comfort Jean. The two end up drinking heavily together. Drunk and reckless, they get into a fight with a group of army guys. As usual, Jean gets beaten badly, but this time, something clicks in his mind. He remembers his father once saying that if a boy truly wants to grow up and become responsible, he should join the army. So Jean enlists. Through strict training and discipline, he slowly changes. The careless boy begins turning into a more grounded, mature man. Meanwhile, Ban tries getting closer to Sun, hoping to impress her, but Sun is cold. She clearly tells him he is not the one she loves. Ban is heartbroken. One day, Jean hears that Sun's city has been hit by severe flooding. Before even thinking about calling his parents, Sun is the first person who comes to his mind. He rushes to his commanding officer and asks for permission to call her. At first, the officer refuses, but seeing Jean's genuine concern, he hands him his own phone and says he has 3 minutes. Jean quickly dials Sun's number. She answers and tells him that she and her family are safe, though the city has been affected. They talk briefly. Then, Sun confesses something. On the day they broke up, she was actually about to tell him that she loved him too, but Jean never gave her the chance. After everything that happened and the distance that grew between them, things changed. She says it is too late now. It would be better if they remain just friends. The call ends, and they accept that they will stay in each other's lives, but only as friends. Years pass. Ban, who once loved sleeping, now works at a mattress and bedding company. John is no longer the immature flirt. He grows up to become a famous chef in the city. Dong, who once lived for food, becomes a successful advertising and music video director. Monty learns dance from him and becomes his assistant. Ben, the well-behaved boy from a respected family, studies hard and becomes a government prosecutor, known widely because his father is a famous judge. And Jean, he does not achieve fame like the others, in conventional ways, but he follows what he always loved. He becomes a recognized writer, creating illustrated stories about boxing champions. One day, Jean receives a call from Sun. She says she has something to confess. Instead of romantic words, she drops a bomb. She invites him to her wedding. Her heart now belongs to someone else. On the wedding day, the entire gang reunites. Everyone is happy for Sun, except Ben, who still loves her. Yet the one who smiles the most is Jean. He truly believes she has finally found someone who will love and cherish her the way she deserves. In the end, all the boys who once fought for her sit quietly at her wedding, singing and celebrating, as Sun walks down the aisle in a white dress with another man. And that is where the movie ends.